City Council to order. Rebecca, will you do the roll call, please?
Rivera,
Last yes.
Barone,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Mosby,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes. Mullins,
Yes.
Mayor Gurley.
Yes. You'll all rise. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I wear shorts every day.
Thomas, will you do the mission statement, please?
Absolutely. The mission statement for Rocky Ford is to improve the quality of life in the city of Rocky Ford, making it a great place to live and work while strengthening relationships and creating pride in the community.
Thank you. Now we will move on to our public comment section. So if any citizens would like to address council on any items not on the agenda, please come up to the front, state your name, and you would have 3 minutes to share comments. If you are here for something that is on the agenda, you can wait until that time in the meeting, and we'll be able to call you up at that time. But open the floor for any public comment at this time. For November 12th, 2024, and approval of special meeting minutes for November 7th, 2024. Also includes an application for renewal of retail liquor license from Leanne Gonzalez and Leonard Gonzalez, LLC, DBA Len's Tavern. Arts Commission recommendation to reappoint J.R. Thompson, Robert Barone, and Mike Shima to 3-year terms expiring December 31st, 2027. And an application from the Chamber of Commerce to request to close the street for the Parade of Lights this Saturday, November 30th. So if anyone would like to discuss those separately, please let me know now. If not, look for a motion to approve consent agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda. Items 8.1, approval of the previous minutes, meeting minutes on 11/12/23. 8.2, the application for renewal of liquor license for Len's Tavern at 901 Railroad Avenue. 8.3, the Arts Commission recommendation to approve or to appoint J.R. Thompson and Robert Barone and Mike Shima to a 3-year term till December 31st, 2027. And 8.4, the Chamber of Commerce requests to close public streets for Parade of Lights from Main to Washington, Main Street from Washington Avenue to Front Street on November 30th, 2024.
A second. Call for a vote.
Barone,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Mosby,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Herrera,
Yes.
Gurley.
Yes. Okay. Consent agenda is approved. Move on to the approval of agenda. If there's anything anyone would like to add, please let me know. I do have one just kind of correction to the agenda that I'll be making. So just under presentation, I want to just recognize on the agenda, we'll have a presentation from Representative Ty Winter and Senator Rod Pelton. I look for a motion to approve agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as printed and amended.
Second. Call for a vote.
Martinez,
Yes.
Mosby,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Herrera,
Yes.
Barone,
Yes.
Mayor Gurley.
Yes. It is approved. Okay, we'll move on to our presentations. Gentlemen, if you'd like to come up to the front. Good, thank you all for making the trip over to Rocky Ford.
Thanks for coming down here to the little city.
No worries, brother, anytime.
So don't really know what you guys are interested in. Came through the election, Colorado had, Republicans had some small victories. Session starts January 8th. I don't look for a whole lot of change in the way things have gone. There's still kind of an attack on rural Colorado just because they don't really understand us out here. I had Kit Carson Rural Development contact me today about a bill that was ran in 22 that kind of put some onerous regulations on building efficiencies and stuff, and it really hurts the smaller communities. So I may be trying to address that in a bill this year. Representative Winter and I are running a bill together. Has to do with trying to add one more rural member to the stack with CDOT, just to try to give us a little more voice. That's some of the bills I'm running on.
I mean, what Senator Pelton said is true. The rural-urban divide is huge at the state capitol. There's so many bills they pass with the consequences. They don't realize how they fall down on our rural counties, especially frontier counties. We see it especially with housing and zoning. Some of the ideas that they have, I mean, they basically want to, their goal at the end of the day is to put housing along the highways and train routes and basically stack housing, so then there's less transit. It doesn't work in our part of the country. I mean, Rocky Ford, whether your community should grow the way it wants to grow. It shouldn't grow the way the state mandates somebody 4 hours from here to tell you how to grow when it comes to your zoning, your transportation. And what we see is a redistribution of wealth a lot of times. I mean, like the electric vehicle tax credit. I mean, they're taking taxpayer dollars out of rural Colorado and they're funneling them to the inner city. And so many times we're on the outs. I mean, we really see it with housing as well. Housing needs in rural Colorado are different, especially as we see like what they call the silver tsunami. I mean, we see people, we don't have transitional housing for our aging population. And these are things that they don't understand. They've got a young, vibrant community up in the Metroplex, and they don't understand the intricacies of what we face down here. So we've really had a battle with zoning and things like that. Building codes, that's another thing. I mean, it's impossible. Asbestos abatement. Last year we ran a bill to put, there's money in a cash fund on fines to be able to help with, just like Otero School District, their bus barn. You know, it was cheaper to build a new bus barn than to take the asbestos out of the old bus barn. So what I see at the state capitol myself and the senator sees is they just don't understand our way of life. 2 years ago, we did a rural tour and we invited city legislators to come into the district. We actually did one stop here in Rocky Ford and we talked to the vegetable growers. And we talked about how they had the laws. Okay, so they changed the laws for labor. And we talked to not only the growers, we talked to migrants who are upset because they can't come here and make the money they want to make because they're limited to hours. We took them to an energy production in Los Animas County. And that's another thing that we face. We've got to be real about this. I'm a huge proponent of nuclear energy. I believe in small modular reactors. They fit on the size of a Walmart, the footprint of a Walmart, and its parking lot. And I'm here to tell you, the green energy push in Colorado is taxpayer funded, and it's killing the state. Ever since we've started this, the cost of energy has went through the roof. And what scares us in rural Colorado is we need firm, reliable power. And I do not believe, I'm an all above energy person. I believe we should shoot oil, gas, coal. We could have some wind, we could have some solar, but to just bank on what the state is their carbon-free goal by 2035, I think it's unattainable, especially for rural Colorado, because one thing we have seen is if they start to have rolling blackouts and brownouts in Denver, if you don't think they're going to push your power north, then you haven't been at the state capitol very much. So that's why I'm a huge proponent of small modular nuclear plants. This year we came down to Harris Pharmacy and spoke with your pharmacist, Kai, great guy, having a huge problem with PBMs, and it's killing independent pharmacies. So running a bill, we're going after Big Pharma this year, and we're telling them you need to be able to make sure that people, the pharmacist you have in this community is unbelievable. I mean, it costs him money to put prescription out in this community, and he takes that on his back. And to have somebody like that in your community is huge. So we're going to try to help with that. We're running the stack bill. The ranchers asked me, I'm running a no lab grown meat bill. I mean, we're competing with the wolves. Thank God we're not competing with the mountain lions right now. But that's another thing is our farmers and ranchers. Out of the state house, y'all, I live on a ranch in Los Animas County. Out of 65 members, there's only 2 of us that come from an agricultural background in the whole. How many of you all in the Senate? 4?
Yeah, 4.
So you only have 6 voices out of 100 that come from agricultural background. Last year, the senator and I, we ran the agricultural stewardship bill, which will help our farmers and ranchers. It's a tax credit if you're doing rotational grazing, rotational crops, interseeding, and we're always trying to put money back in the district. We all pay taxes here no different than they do in the Metroplex, and you need to see a return on that dollar too. So many times, though, I will tell you this, we're left out in the cold in rural Colorado, and that's why we urge you all, we need you all to testify. And when these bills come up and they're going to affect Rocky Ford, you have our contact information. Please get on the phone at any time. I mean, that's our job. We need to have that interaction with you all because as these bills are being passed, you need to reach out and be like, we're Rocky Ford, Colorado, and this is how it's going to affect our budget. You all deal with unfunded mandates all the time. That's another thing that we see come out of the building is it's a constant stream of unfunded mandates. The big counties, it doesn't hurt. The big counties do just fine. But the small rural counties and frontier counties where, you know, your staff here, you're having to add staff members to do little ticky-tacky things. We see it in education as well. So the big thing is the disconnect between the two different ways of life. And what's really unfortunate is it isn't like we live in two different parts of the state anymore. It's like we live in two different states. And it's just not right. And at the podium all the time, I tell them we're a proud people. These people just want to go to work and they want to make a living, and you're taking industry away from them, whether it's farming or ranching or oil and gas. It's not right. There's also those people who just want to go to work and take care of themselves, and then you take away their way of living and then you hook them on government money like a drug. And that is not right, especially for rural Colorado. I don't know, what other bills you running, sir?
I'm running one. She's with them on the phone. We're running one for rural hospitals. I can't remember the particulars of it. Being a rancher, all my bills have to do with rural Colorado or agriculture. Every session I've run a rural hospital bill. Last year I ran one that if you were a critical access hospital, right now in the state of Colorado, you have to license as a general hospital also. So when it comes time to have a capital improvement construction project, you have to buy 2 permits. This bill will help save up to $50,000 whenever that happens. And all our critical access hospitals usually run in the red. So every dollar we can save helps, them take care of us whenever we need it. So
We've been trying to take the reins off of government a little bit. So I ran the physician's assistant bill 2 years ago. We all know that healthcare is an issue in rural Colorado. This bill isn't going to fix the problem, but what it allows is a physician assistant. It used to be they had to work under direct supervision of a doctor. Now they can work in collaboration. So if you have a doctor and a physician assistant here in Rocky Ford, the doctor decides to leave, that physician's assistant, as long as they're collaborating with that doctor, can still stay in practice. And that's a huge issue. I run education bills. Senator Pelton and I ran a bill that way superintendents and principals that are retired and already collecting para can come out of retirement, still collect para while putting into para to teach, because that's another hole that we have to fill in rural Colorado. It's hard to recruit young teachers to rural Colorado. No different in Trinidad, Rocky Ford, Lamar. The nightlife isn't big for kids coming out of the city with a degree to bring their families into. They also look at healthcare. They look at schools. So that's another thing. For us to recruit these people, we have to start making our communities compete a little bit more and be more vibrant. Another issue that I'm tackling this year is the landlord issue. In Denver, don't get me wrong, there's slumlords. One of the unintended consequences of legislation they passed, it is killing our small town landlords. I mean, I've had landlords come to me and say, Rep. Winter, we can't even go talk to somebody about their house. They can threaten us. They've made it basically where the renters have control and the landlords can't do anything, and that's really unfortunate. I will say it seems, it's almost like they're trying to push people out of the private property business. With all the legislation that they're running on housing and on landlords, it's almost like the state wants to take over the housing, which should scare everybody. They even passed a bill that they can build housing on state land now. They try to pass the right to first refusal bill, which would mean if you own a home and you decide you want to sell this complex, say it's a 5-apartment complex, they can hold that sale. Rocky Ford can hold that sale for a certain amount of days. It doesn't matter if you have a private seller on day one, they can hold that sale. Now they can't lowball you on it, but they can hold that private transaction up. And what's scary about that is we have landlords and property owners coming to the Capitol constantly saying, we've invested our lives in these rental properties and the state keeps putting their thumb on us. And those are things that hurt rural Colorado as well, because if you want people to come in and invest, they're afraid to invest. We have businesses leaving the state because of the clean air policies. This year we watched for the first time ever at the Capitol, I think I've seen, is we had labor come up and testify against these bills. We had the steel workers out of Pueblo come in and testify against them. We had the pipe fitters union come in and testify against a lot of the legislation. And what I truly believe is I think that the Metroplex is out of touch with the rest of the state. And that's our job to tell your story. And when I go to the Capitol, I try to tell the story of House District 47. And that's why your input is so important to me. Because if you're not giving me the background of how it's affecting your community, I can't go to that dais and can't represent you the way you want to be represented. So my big thing is I urge you all, please, if you see legislation that's coming down the pipe that you think is horrible, send emails, make a phone call. I've read statements from city council members. This is how it'll affect our city, and I will go up there and put it on the record. And we need to start working together as a team in rural Colorado. We need to start banding together. I know we're a bunch of little voices right now, but we need to come together as one solid big voice. Because we're really being, and we're not looking for sympathy, we're really being left on the outs, y'all. We're an afterthought in that building, and it's really unfortunate. And if we don't start banding together and screaming out loud together, we're going to find ourselves under the bulldozer even more.
And you guys can now testify remotely from your own home. That's one good thing that did come of COVID. You don't have to go to the Capitol or to the local college to testify. You can do it right from your home.
Yeah, you can definitely, like you said, you can sign up and testify here from council chambers. And is there any questions anybody has? I want to make sure we're covering everything you'd like to.
I've got some questions or concerns. First of all, I understand there's a lot more people, there's a lot bigger tax base in the metropolitan area versus out here where we are. But like you said, we count, we matter. My concerns for me, I would say the biggest one is utility bills. When I get my utility bills, 25% of that bill is actual consumption of the commodity, and the rest of it is fees, transportation, delivery, and all this. Can you help us in that one? I got three. I'll give you all three, and then I'll let you. Another one is public transportation. We have really no public transportation out here, very little. To get to I-25 where there is better transportation. We have not much out here. And then once again, the infrastructure is for roads and bridges. We have a lot of two-lane highways, a lot of roads.
I've done a little digging into it. There's a lot of money being spent. And sir, one thing I've learned in that building is we don't have a revenue problem. We have a priority problem where we put our money. We put our money in some insane things. When it comes to the energy, I hate to beat that drum, but the green energy push has cost the cost of energy to go through the roof. That's hurting it as well. And roads and bridges, this is what makes it hard about severance taxes, is DOLA, they cut back $23 million last year in DOLA grants because that money is no longer there. Last year we swept $10 million from severance tax to balance the general fund. This year I think the governor is sweeping $8 million. Department of Natural Resources, 92% of their budget comes from severance tax, which comes from oil and gas production. I don't know where we're going to make that up. We are starting this session $900 million in the hole. The governor reached out on the assistant minority leader and said, Assistant Minority Leader Winter, if any of the Republicans have any legislation that has a fiscal note, tell them not to bring it. That means it's even worse for us, sir. Utility rates, like I said, I know there's going to be some legislation this year. I know Black Hills had actually come out and made a statement that they're going to reduce off of theirs. I don't know if it's enough, but they have come to the table. But I do know that Representative Martinez out of the Valley, I think, is going to run some legislation to try to address that. He really went after Excel really hard last year. But no, those are all valid issues. When it comes to the roads and bridges, though, if there's no money for DOLA grants, it's hard for you guys to apply for those grants. Another thing that makes it hard is having such a small staff. These big cities, they have grant writers. They have people on staff doing this stuff, applying.
Corridors, that's where all the CDOT dollars go.
Yeah, they want to take people up to the slopes.
Yep. There's a lot more squeaking going on up there than out here. But we did an audit of CDOT a year ago, found a lot of discrepancies, but it's an enterprise fund and they answer to nobody, not even the governor. So I sit on the audit committee, and I look forward to this audit that Rep. Winters just mentioned. That's an even numbered committee, but it still takes a majority to bring an audit. So it has to show enough discrepancy to bring an audit. We tried to do that with the Secretary of State right before the election, and it was a 4-4 vote. So.
Well, and you bring up the Front Range. So our ranch is right off of I-25, and I'll tell you what, 350 is a lot better highway than I-25 is right now. And that's because the governor appointed a director to CDOT that had no clue anything to do with highways. And that's another thing we've seen is some of his appointees, they have no expertise in the area that they're working in. And that makes a huge difference. You have this beautiful capital in the last 2 years is we take care of all this, I will call it a lot of nonsense where we spend money. And at the end, we scream fire departments and kids. Because those are the things that grab people by their heartstrings and get them to spend that extra money in the end instead of doing what's right and put that money in front and making sure those things are funded in front. And then another thing is legislation. It is so lopsided in that building, there's no sausage making. So my first year, we spent more time fixing bills that had been passed the year before because you don't have to sit across the table and work. When you're in a super majority, you say, I have a bill, we don't need your votes, sit in the corner and shut up and we're going to pass this legislation. That's another thing that hurts us, because one committee, they do listen to us on those agriculture, because, I mean, you can think you know a whole lot of, but if you don't know what end the calf comes out of than the cow, you're at a disadvantage.
They just want our water.
Well, that's another thing, and I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, they talk about sustainable growth. Well, sustainable growth is off the back of rural Colorado and agri-centered communities. We all know that. I will say, though, our water lady, she fights like heck for Colorado water. We've really put pressure on the states and down in the compact, Arizona, Nevada, California. They're starting to tell them that if we're going to have to cut back on golf courses and green belts, then you're going to have to figure out a better way to deal with your water. So I will say that the gal that we have working for the state now, she fights pretty hard for the water. But you're right, they're trying to take water out of rural Colorado. And I mean, you see in Bent, Colorado Springs Utilities is deep in Bent right now. I'm sure you've heard of their program where they come in and if you've been flood irrigating all these years, they figure how much water you use flood irrigating. Then if you put pivots in, they figure how much water you'll save by sprinkling, and then they get that perpetuity, that water. So if you use 1 million gallons a year, and then with sprinklers you only use 500,000, if they come in and pay for your pivots, but they get that 500,000 gallons for lifetime. So you're right, they're coming after our water. They can't grow without it.
And to piggyback a little more onto CDOT, they have become a green energy department, not necessarily a highway department. They're putting in charging stations and pushing the Green New Deal more than they are asphalt.
Perfect example is the funeral home bill that was passed last year. Representative Soper had our staff go through it. They put money in there for electric chargers in a funeral home bill. They try to sneak things in left and right. He's 100% correct. But you talk about the tax base being up there. Agriculture is still the #1 producer in this state, and we constantly tell them we feed you, we clothe you, and we heat your homes. And every time we talk during lunch and they're eating, I look at them like, hey, you guys enjoy lunch? Well, thank rural Colorado today, because they're the ones that put that food on your plate. But that's where you all are the cavalry. I always tell people this is a 50-50 deal. I'll leave my family, I'll go up there for 4 months, I'll live downtown Denver, which is a tough thing for a country boy. But when it comes to your 50%, that's when we need you guys to ride in on the horses and testify and talk about these things, because your voices are important. We talk so much up there, sometimes we're kind of like that person, you know, that writes the letter to the editor every week, and then after 7 weeks you just see the name and you put the paper down. When you're up there fighting like we do for you all, there's times that it falls on deaf ears, but when they're sitting in committee and they have to talk to the 5 or 6 of you and hear your point of view, they go, oh, that stuff Rep. Winter is bringing up, these are the concerns of his community, because that building is politics, and it's unfortunate. There's a lot of politics in that building where voices don't get heard. But that's where we need you all to really step in and testify and help on this stuff.
One little question. Is there anything in the agenda up there for military? Because we have one clinic right here in La Junta, and it's a little tiny one. And then, like, if you have PTSD, you have to go all the way to Denver, which is 180 miles.
That's federal, sir.
Also, but is there anything on the state level that can help with the rural communities to get something? Because, like, I know the VFW, the American Legion are all around. We only have one, and the nearest VFW is pretty far. It's over in Ordway, and there's one in Las Animas. But, is anything on the state level to help veterans to do something?
We would love to, but like Ty said, we're $900 million in the hole. There will be no money going out to communities. It'd be nice to help in those kind of areas.
Yeah.
Because it's a tough one. It's like,
I understand. Well, in Trinidad, our guys have to drive to Albuquerque to get services. They can't even go because the way the regions are set up with the Fed. And I have friends that have cancer that have to get treatment in Albuquerque, make a 4-hour drive when they could go to Springs. I think you're going to see that change nationally, though, because I think you're going to go back to where vets can choose their doctors.
well, they could choose them now.
Oh, they can?
Yeah, but it's still, to get one going here, there's
It's hard in his
no
county.
choices.
If it wasn't for, you can only see a doctor about every 2 weeks.
Regular MD.
Yeah.
And the ones that are suffering are the older ones, the World War II ones that are dying off now. It's like,
That's right, and it's hard for them to get good care. You also brought up public transportation.
med rights.
Well, we have that at the Pueblo, and that bus runs no matter what, and sometimes empty. up and back.
Yeah, the
empty.
bus stop's across the street from my house, I get to watch it.
You see it, so you know what I'm talking about. I mean, you as priority issues, you as a taxpayer is paying so that empty bus can run. But it goes back to what you originally said. They started running those so they could get to the ski areas. Last year I wrote a Herbie scathing letter to the governor. I'm sitting in Denver. We've been dealing with snow out here on the Eastern Plains for 12 days. And all of a sudden they're going to get a snow and ski country, and he calls it range rail forever. And they want us to subsidize it, and all they've said is we're going to push it east and west. Now, that's where the population is, but once again, we're being left on the outs. We'll get the tail end of anything if we do get it.
But you get rail transportation, Lahaina South, Lahaina East. I mean, it used to run to Pueblo, and the buses got 2 people or no people. Get a smaller bus. You know, I see the big bus that shows up there, and then a lot of people, I don't think, are fully aware of schedules.
Yeah, the schedules usually don't fit with what you need.
Or they're behind, their bus broke down, I mean, it's always something with bus time.
What we learned is in rural Colorado, unfortunately, you have to do more with less, and that's a constant thing. Your sheriff, I will say that you've got a sheriff that he does more with less, and he finds a way to do it. Sheriff Mobley, we sat down and talked to him, and he gets things done with hardly any money. It's really important that, you know, when it comes to transportation, we have a lot of people encouraging people to use Uber, trying to get people in their community to start Uber and actually Uber people around. I know it, believe it or not, there's a Uber Eats in Trinidad now. There's a guy that decided he's making a killing.
We got one dude in Lahaina, I think.
Yeah, he's making a killing doing Uber Eats. He quit his job, he's so busy. So, you know, that's one thing we always try to encourage people to do is I mean, the free market, try to get, you know, encourage people, you know, you want to start a business, why don't you start an Uber service, you know, because when it comes to, like you said, public transportation dollars, if there's no grant money left, you guys don't have a grant to apply for.
So is there any way, how much more are we gonna be able to increase infrastructure monies for rural Colorado? Is there anything in plans or?
I don't see anything for at least a couple of years.
Okay, and what about like highway use taxes? Is there anything in plans that's gonna help us increase the amount of taxes we're bringing in for highway use taxes in rural Colorado also?
Actually, I see that declining because of the push for hybrids and electric, because it's on gas sales, diesel sales.
That sucks, cause
Yeah.
that's something we depend on a lot is highway use tax, you know, to fix our roads.
And Highway Patrol actually took another 5%. They used to just take 20, now they take 25 off the top to fund them, so.
Okay.
And then on top of that, the statistics just came out day before yesterday, and once again, we're in the top 2 states for highest inflation.
So now you just hit on, it might be dropping because there's more non-gasoline combustible engines. They're going
Yeah, and
electric,
getting
start
longer mileage.
charging them more for it.
Yeah.
I mean, putting up all these charging stations for them, put a user fee on that.
No, sir, we're giving them rebates. Because we're, you know, this is something that is said all the time, and I'm not trying to ruffle feathers.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, you're welcome. Sorry there was more money, sir. Call the governor's
I just thought I'd ask if
office.
there's something that, you know, might be in place that
No.
might be trying to help us out a
Yeah.
little bit in rural Colorado.
We try, we fight for it. We
Okay.
really do, just, you know, we'll keep
And
fighting for
actually,
you.
there was a bill ran to increase from $25 a year to $75 for electric vehicles. But when you compare apples to apples,
Battery and everything, yeah.
and they're hard on our first responders, our firemen. I talked to our local fire chief 2 weeks ago, and he has to have 4 different kinds of suppressants in case of an electric vehicle fire.
Patrol, if we sign on to this conduit, do we lose that access if somebody says we don't need it? The government decides to go through the way.
I guess I wouldn't give up the current water rights you have as the
Right.
city. The number one reason that was put in was to keep drinkable water to the communities along Arkansas. I've been kind of in support of it. It sounds like it's gonna end up costing you users along the river a lot of money. So I don't know in the end if it is a good thing or not, but do not give up your water rights in case that fails.
We're seeing a decline, like the Ogallala Commissioner Freed from Baca County, Walsh used to have 4 wells, they're down to 1 right now. The farmers in Kansas are talking about it, so the aquifers are dropping. And like you said, it was to make sure that there was clean drinking water to the valley. But another issue that we're having is private property rights issue. We have tons of people that are upset where it's laid out where it's going to go. But in the state of Colorado, the Constitution reads they have the right for eminent domain, especially when it comes to roads and utilities. So that's a fight that a lot of people are having right now, and unfortunately, the cards are stacked against them. But they're looking at the future, and it's more of a drinking water thing.
Yeah, the hard part is that I think we've been paying it since.
For doing her thing. Now, part of this, you were asking about the water and how much it's gonna cost. Now, if we got the Forever Chemicals, now, she's falsifying, or she was falsifying readings and reports at the chemicals. Now, if we have Forever Chemicals in our water, there might be more available from the government, I understand from this, but first of all, are we in Region 8? I don't even know what region we're in.
I don't know what region you're in.
We're EPA Region
We are Region 8? So now we have concerns about that, having false readings that were manipulated by her.
We saw that with the CDI as well, the DNA testing. I mean, they're having to let people out of prison because there was faulty DNA tests. It's happening. No, sir, it's a concern. You're right, and the forever chemicals are an issue. They're really having a problem with it. Pharmaceuticals are causing a lot of problems in the water because it's hard to treat pharmaceuticals out of water. But no, and you know, I'm lucky where I live in Trinidad. Our water supply is North Lake, so we get fresh, clean water. But by the time it gets down this way, I mean, it's been through a couple of treatment plants in between here and there. You know, and the forever chemicals are an issue that we're facing, 110%.
Not only that, we get groundwater here from our wells, but yet we had the Army depot that was there with all the munitions and everything. Who knows what seeped?
No, 100% correct. No, you're 100% correct.
This water and sewage costs the small communities a lot of money if they have to all of a sudden come up to the new standard. My former house district up in Northeast Colorado, I don't know what the answer is for our small communities. So far, DOLA and some of them have had some grants that have helped out, but pretty soon that money dries up too.
I mean, we're seeing revenue go down in the state. I mean, the marijuana tax is almost, I mean, compared to what it was, it's falling through the floor. I mean, last year when they did a study on growth, the three that grew were restaurants, which are jobs coming back from COVID, hospitality, but the number one growing entity in the state of Colorado was government. They tie FTEs to everything. There is an FTE to scratch the back of an FTE, to scratch the back of an FTE, to pull out the keyboard for an FTE, to answer the phone for an FTE. I mean, there's so many FTEs in a bill. I mean, the government is employing so many people right now, and that's one fight that we have. I know our JBC members actually asked the state to do a hiring freeze, and they wanted to do a decrease on staff, like I think it was 5%, and they're not going to do that.
So can we start a Colorado Department of Government Efficiency?
Wouldn't that be nice? That's why we're starting to run some of these audits. There's tons of waste. We could sit here and go through. I mean, we've dug out waste that would just blow your mind. And some of the stuff they're spending your money on is just insane, and there's no benefit coming to the citizens, especially communities like Rocky Ford.
In the 6 months or 6 years that I've been a legislator, the budget is 50% again what it was when I first came in. It was like 24 million when I first came in, and there's almost 40 million or billion this last budget. So it's
And we get good legislation passed. I mean, I've done 18 bills in 2 years. And I mean, from anywhere from energy to healthcare to education, try to, you know, round robust bills, but anything that's really important from here, we get shot down. Anytime we try to grab at a piece of the pie or we try to fight to push something back, that's where we have no dog in the fight. Is because a lot of this legislation has unintended consequences. And we do try to tell that story. And they give you the, oh, we feel so bad, and that's as far as it goes because they don't vote any different when it comes to this stuff.
Questions? Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you coming.
Thank you for inviting us.
Really wanted an opportunity, you know, to just hear what's going on. So thank you for sharing out some of those in the upcoming legislative session. And then, you know, just really an opportunity to, you know, meet the council, and for the people to hear from you all. You know, like we've kind of heard about rural Colorado, but we can almost, you know, I feel the same way about Rocky Ford when we look at rural Colorado as far as being left behind and forgotten. So definitely want to, you know, do our part in changing that and making sure that Rocky Ford is heard and everyone knows that they're in the room. So if there are any opportunities for us to come and lend that voice, you know, please, you know, reach out and want everyone to know, and you know, for all the citizens too to know that they can also reach out to you all.
Are you a member of CML?
I am. Yeah. So yeah,
They have a good, strong voice there.
And they'll give you a list of bills to testify on. Just tell them that you want the legislative docket, and we really need y'all's voices. they need to hear straight from you. It's very important.
So I have business cards, I'll leave with the clerk.
And I'm gonna send an email
I'll
to
leave you off,
everybody.
you know, one of the couple of notes that I had written down, and I heard touched on it, but, you know, I think it's that, you know, capacity for us, so, you know, the funding that is there, we know that there's funding there, but, you know, we don't necessarily have the staff to be able to, you know, write those grants and administer them. So I think the technical assistance and, you know, being able to open that up, and I would even almost say, more intentionally for rural Colorado, I think that's becoming more and more helpful. Stacy and I are gonna be on a call tomorrow, you know, taking advantage of some technical assistance, I guess resources from the state. So, you know, when that comes up, I think that is something that it's not the solution, but it helps us when we're operating with the limited staff, compared to, you know, Winter Park or Boulder or somebody. And then the other one is just, you know, anything around any of the cleanup. I know asbestos and kind of been following that, and we're gonna be going after that as much as we can. We just had a 30,000 square foot building burn out down here in Rocky Ford this weekend, an abandoned school building. And you know, we had a construction, our brewer construction burnt down earlier this year, so that's almost becoming an epidemic here in Rocky Ford. And you know, we're going to be going as much as we can, trying to, you know, find funding on the state level and federal level for those cleanups. So you know, if there's anything you're running or anything that you hear of, you know, those are definitely things. You know, we have some stories.
I'm definitely trying to help you tell the story, so let us know, and we'll do what we can to work with you all. And thank you. If there's any other updates, we also do town halls during session via Zoom, so we can always make sure to shoot you the link, and then if you could share it out, then we try to get constituents on to talk about issues, and we could even do one for you all if you want to do a town hall. Just let us know. I mean, I try to be as accessible as I can to any community, so, you know, as much as you'll invite me in, I'll try to help as much as I can. Same with the senator.
Well, thank you both.
Thank you. Well, happy Thanksgiving. Have a Merry Christmas.
We'll see you at the Elks Lodge. We'll see you at the Elks Lodge over in Greenville. We'll stop and play darts. Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on to our staff report. Staff report.
Hey, before I start my report, I just wanted to share some news. Chris Sandoval from the Grand Theater called yesterday, and he wanted it to be known that Michelle Grasmick saved the Grand Theater over $358,000 over the past 3 years for overpayment to CCOM, and CCOM gave that credit back to the Grand Theater. So
Wow.
How much? $358.
Oh, I think you said 358,000.
That's what I thought she said too.
68. You know,
Wanted to share that.
man, take anything we can get.
We could use that. The El Cap building, there's had a trial hearing, I think it was this week or last week, and they moved it to January the 22nd. Mayor and I met with our city attorney last week, and he said that he would be moving forward on 400 South Main and Liberty School at that time, and then we had the incident with the fire over the weekend. Still do not have an update on 1149 Railroad. Want to report that the asphalt project is done. So we need to be looking at getting an RFP out for the next round. The sidewalk project, I did contact Elegant Concrete, and they're 4 to 6 weeks out before they can start on the sidewalk project. So I will touch back with them in January. And again, we had 14 applicants for the sidewalk replacement program, and we will be starting inspections to see that all those applications qualify. We already talked about the sewer rate town hall increase. 701 Sycamore, just a quote there, we did receive award funding for $49,606 to clean up 701 Sycamore. So we'll be out about $11,000, but still that's pretty good on that, and it is a reimbursement, so we will have to pay that out before we get that. I've already sent in the certificate of liability and just waiting for okay to go ahead and get started. And Mayor said that him and I are meeting with, is it NOAA or?
I think this one is governor's office, but it would be a CDPHE.
So it's a Thriving Communities Technical Assistance Grant, and we'll be looking at the EPA cleanups under their building. I am working on a lease agreement with Sage Services. I guess a couple years ago that they had requested that, and I don't think it was ever followed through on. And I'm also working on a lease agreement for Jack Barker on the rental house at the water treatment plant. It's not on the report, but I today set up 3-day training next week with Cloud Permit, hour and a half each day, and then we'll be ready to roll that out. So we're pretty close on there. And then the last council meeting, there was just some talk about how, dog tags and stuff, and so I kind of went through ADG and just pulled up some numbers, some of the revenues that the police department has pulled in. Just random, $285 on tags. It was not broke down, that it's $10 or $25. The court fines collected, court costs, other fines, and all that. And then one other thing, we've been getting a lot of calls this week, into last week too, concerned citizens about the trash service and how they didn't get picked up due to the storm. Many are requesting adjustments on their utility bills, which it's just not possible, but just, wanted it to, they understand that, they have to pay utility bills on time, and they're paying for services that they're not receiving, and so, and still picking up branches.
Still picking them up, yeah.
They are burning the branches, several piles, so.
Yeah. When do you see the foreseeable boots on the ground for Sycamore, 701 Sycamore for the cleanup activity?
Just as soon as we get the okay, that we can start the project. When I initially talked to them, they thought around January, so.
First of the year.
Yeah.
Public Works Director, Rick Long.
Cody's gonna speak. Rick was actually on vacation is on vacation when we had set this up.
He's quite really knowing this. There's 3 or 4 different loaders here we're looking at. There's 4 or 5 dump trucks we're looking at, and basically, we're all we got right now is backhoe, and it's kind of, pretty hard to clean anything up with that. Can't move as much. That goes down, we ain't got nothing. We just have the water pump just went out on it, and luckily it ended up just being the bearing in it, and we had to get that fixed, or we had nothing.
That was on the loader.
No, that was on the backhoe. That's when we were doing all the tree branches, everything, so we need something.
So, and you can kind of speak to that, the loader needs like an $11,000 repair, and we just decided to not.
12, yeah. That thing's, it's a 04, 02, something like that. Couldn't even tell you how many hours on it, the hour gauge quit.
And they don't guarantee that even if we spend the $12,000 on it, that it's gonna fix the issues.
That's what they told us, they said, yeah, we could throw it in there, they don't know if it's gonna fix it, but what's it worth? Even when it was running, it's not worth, I don't think putting that 12 grand into it was even worth it. It's old, it's used, it's past its life. We're looking here, like I said, we're looking at these, and I think this one here, Rustler's kind of one that's really feasible here, and it's looking at them, yeah, it's newer, it's got more capabilities, it's more powerful, it's a little bit bigger than the one we had. They come in for snow removal. That really hurt us not having the loader for, when the snowstorm came. All we had was plow truck, and that thing going on based on the dump truck. We were looking through these. You look at, there's one that's got everything set up on it. All it needs get it going. I mean, that thing gets stuck on highway, people coming down. I mean, and, you know, I mean, we maintenance, like I said, we've got stuff here, we've got, dailies on the stuff we do. It's, you know, I mean, nothing lasts forever.
What are we hauling dirt in now?
I don't even know what year that thing is. It's
That
an old,
green dump
yeah,
truck?
it's an old Ford something, and that needs work done. The bed's starting to tear. Where the hydraulic sits underneath when you lift up, it's starting to tear.
And we have a smaller one, a smaller truck that's a little dump truck?
Nope.
No?
No, we got a little trailer.
Oh, we have the dump on the pickup.
The dump on the pickup there.
Is the dump.
On cemetery? I'm guessing that's what you're talking about. I don't know. We don't.
I don't know who's that.
Which one
Very
Cemetery?
What truck are we carrying the spreader on?
That's the
old one?
plow truck. The one that's, yeah, I think that's like a 92. Yeah, that thing.
I have a question for you, and question, I'm not trying to point fingers or blame or anything, but, you know,
I didn't do it.
we're always, the council's always, you guys, when you presented with these, if you can bring, what I would like to see is on all the equipment, you know, vehicles, everything that the city has now, logbooks, you know.
We have
I don't know
three
what-
ups. They must still be over there. I
You
thought
know,
we
it's
brought
just,
them,
just everyday logs, your pre-trips, your pull-trips for your CDL, that's all required, and then just regular, any from the white city vehicle, the police vehicles, emergency, the fire department, all that, just, you know, have logs, you know, I mean, that's preventative maintenance in a way.
we do them. Every time a guy's supposed to take them up, they're supposed to do it. It don't matter if you jumped on it and then the next person that takes it, they have to.
2 or 3 days.
Yes.
Be 2 or 3
And we
days.
have it, and don't, you know, I mean, you got guys that, yeah, you get in a rush, you get, you know, sometimes they get left the vehicle, sometimes they get, you know, so I mean, we can be better about that. You know, keep them, making sure they get turned in, but we have a staff. And we pulled it all, and I just forgot
Well,
to
you're
grab it.
required CDL, 6 months.
Yeah.
Other stuff that's kind of just.
We have stuff from last year, I think even the year before that, we have all that stuff. We do them. We need something, I mean.
Well, a lot of times your inspections, your daily inspections, and like I said, you have 3 drivers a day, should be at least 3 inspections done, each driver does his own, you know, pre and post.
Yeah.
We do have them, you know, that's how you find some stuff before it does happen.
We do, and I said, we do have them, they're over at the shop right now, and we forgot to grab them.
And then now they're saying we have a mechanic city
Yep.
that can work on stuff, not full blown, but still to, you know.
Yeah, and he's been doing a good job, he's doing the oil changes, right now he's going through the mini X, he went through I'm pretty sure, I don't know if he's went through the backhoe yet or not, but, not yet. So, I mean, he's went through every one of our trucks, so I mean, he's going through the stuff as quick as he can, you know, and, basically, yeah, I mean, we need.
It's just, you know, as a citizen, I mean, out and about during the day, I see things, you know, that aren't right, you know, that should be repaired, you know, and stuff, and, you know, asking a city employee to use something that's not safe or up to par shouldn't even be asked to do that. So, that's just my concern is, you know, can we, instead of just waiting till it breaks and then say, let's replace it, you know, so we have some type of.
Part of it too is, I mean, budget. You can only spend, you know, what we got, and,
Budget doesn't come over safety.
you know, well, I mean, but if we we can't spend it and we don't have it.
Yeah,
I mean, I
I agree.
don't know what to do, you know, I mean.
We stay on top
So,
of it.
yeah, so the one that says Rustler on it is the exact same as that right there, just they're different.
It's just as big.
It's one from Rustler and the one from, I don't know where that one's from.
Well, I got a question on that, because, so you have the one that's not from Rustler, and it's saying it has 2,000 hours on it, which, that's a
Brand new.
pretty new machine, in my opinion. Then you go to this Rustler that says it's got 20,000 hours. That's pushing it into hours life, isn't it?
No.
That's quite a bit of hours.
No, that's not a lot.
Well, when
Equipment and hours, it's different. I mean, seriously, it's no different than you see a semi out there with, 1.5 million miles.
Well, yeah, you're gonna
And
see a
still-
million
you're
miles
still,
on a
you know,
truck, but
But I'm just saying, they don't even go off the 1.5 million miles, they go based off, on diesels, they go based off hours, and that is not, that's not bad at all. I guarantee, Nick, that loader that we had, or we had, I shouldn't say had, but we have, I bet you that thing's 60, 70, or probably maybe 80,000 hours on that thing.
Well, and I just,
You know?
I'm not a diesel guy, so I had just Googled it and they said, hey, look, that's pushing it. You know, they according to Google, and like I said, I don't know, they were saying 17,000 hours is a good, out of age, needs to be retired machine, so.
To me, it's not.
Well,
I mean,
Somebody trying to sell you a diesel.
yeah, I mean, to me, that's someone wanting to spend more.
Well, I mean, our age-old question here, Mr. Moneyman, Kyle, do we have the money to buy these things for them? Do we need to finance them?
No, we don't need to finance them. We actually have money left over in the capital improvements account from this year that we could, in fact, we have about I think this is 84,000. I think we've got a $93,000 surplus that we didn't use at all. And that's how I would recommend that we use this, because this is strictly for street cleanups and the truck, those two trucks, and it's not gonna impact our general fund or our enterprise funds.
So which dump truck are you recommending? I know you're recommending the loader from
Russell.
Yeah, honestly, the one that they have here, it's at Justin's, it's got everything on it already.
So what is, I don't know that this says what Justin's
The
asking.
one that doesn't have anything, it's just,
Yeah.
but it's already got everything set up, all we gotta do is get a plow on it.
yeah.
25,000.
He's asking 25 for
And,
that.
cause if not, or 30, maybe, and then that's not including the plow.
What year is this other one?
You see, there's no information at all on that versus these have information. This is just a
Do you know the
picture.
year on it? Luco? What's that? On that one at Justin's, do you know the year?
I have it.
It's 97.
I'm not 100%.
The label on the picture says 1999
That's for
25.
25, yeah, and then like I said, so I mean,
So, what's a plow gonna cost? Cause it's got the attachment on there, so we
so
can pay
apparently,
it, right?
the plow's sitting at most.
Really?
For the, I think it's for this, or it's the one.
Yeah, I don't know if it's
So I mean, yeah, we do have to buy that.
But I mean, it shouldn't be put on for.
No, it isn't.
That's it.
I got a 35, that one's a 99.
85,
So there's even a little bit of a cushion there for them that if we had to spend it, when we need to spend that little bit more money for the
Well,
plow.
I'm recommending we spend as little as possible, yeah, but it was my understanding that the dump truck was ready to go.
This truck's an old CDOT truck, is what it.
It looks like it.
So
Yeah, it looks
that's what I'm
like
saying,
a CDOT.
everything's set up for.
Yeah, everything's on it.
And when we started talking about this, he went out, had Rustler give him a presentation on that loader there. He said it's solid as could be, and Justin's dump truck, was going to be sold for more money, but he's kinda giving us a discount for the city. He's already got another buyer interested, but we told him to give us a week or so and we'll see what happens. But the fact remains that if this snowstorm that's gonna be hitting at 2 o'clock this morning was another one what we just had, we're dead.
Yeah, we don't have a way to clean it up.
We're still recovering.
So, and I'm not trying to use a scare tactic on it, it's just the reality of it. And you know, for what it's worth, you know, I trust Rick to be able to at least be truthful that this is solid equipment that we're buying and we're getting our money's worth. And
Yeah, so I'll ask you, Cody, do you all, I guess you've probably talked with Rick on this, and for clarification for me, is this gonna be a water sewer?
I think, well, so the dump truck's gonna be, yeah, I mean, you can use the water sewer, it's gonna be used for streets, it's gonna be used for cleanup, it's gonna, I mean, everything, the same as the loader. Loader, it's everything.
And so it's coming out, which capital improvement?
I think the only thing would
which
be
is our
trash,
1%
right?
sales tax for roads and sidewalks and stuff like that. That's the money that I'm talking about that we can use to do this without impacting the budgets of, in fact, if you guys notice in the capital improvement fund for 2025, I've got this $84,000 in there, which I was gonna bring up tonight,
if we've got the money now in 2024 as an excess because we didn't spend it on roads this year, I think that's a smart investment.
Is that already taking into account the sidewalk
Sidewalk
funds that
project.
we have to pay out?
Well, we haven't done any of that in 2024. It's not gonna impact our 2024 budget. That's in 2025.
Those projects.
Of these funds. And it's earmarked, just like our sewer projects, that it can go to projects for roads, sewers, equipment for roads, salaries, and such as that. It's somewhat limited what we can use it for, but this would definitely fall under what we could use that 1%.
Good question. So, yeah, you kind of all looked at this one, and you'll say that on the dump truck, the one from Justin's is the best value?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it is, because like I said, it's everything's there. The
What year is
miles,
it?
any
He
question you
owns
got,
the truck, he's required to keep him for CDL, it's a CDL vehicle. Can we look at logs to see what's been going on as far as that vehicle?
we'd have to ask him. I can't give you that answer without talking to him, so.
My follow-up on the 1999 Freightliner M915 is one of our comparables. Do you have the miles on that? That's the one down over at the Rancher Supply in Lamar.
I don't.
Okay, so I called over there to Rancher Supply. It looks like it's 22,903 miles on that. So just kind of for a comparable. The 99 Freightliner.
The white one.
So we got it.
The difference that I see is that the one from Justin's already has all the equipment on it shy of that blade. So if we have to put all of that onto that other one, it's better mileage wise, but are we gonna be spending 30,000-40,000 extra? Cause just that mount on front for that blade is probably what, 25,000-30,000?
Could be, not,
I mean, some of this stuff's pretty pricey, and CDOT, they have,
well, not just that, you're gonna have to get all the controls put into it.
Yeah.
Everything.
It'd be interesting because in the 6 years that I've lived here, we've had one snowstorm when we actually needed a big truck for the plow, and that was this one that we just had. The other ones were pretty small except for the hill that goes up to the school. And we could do that with the small plow.
Well, the other thing would have, like these right here, fold one, with the double axle, that one we have is just a single.
No, but I mean,
you know, no, I know, I'm talking even just when we have main brakes and stuff, to dump everything into, you gotta make, 2, sometimes 3 trips.
Yeah,
Where this is,
that was
gonna
comparing
cut
just,
that.
that was comparing these two.
Yeah.
The one from CDOT compared to the one that's in Lamar. Do we really need the plow and all that stuff on this one? Or do we just need it as a dump truck?
That plow and that one's almost done, I mean, we gotta, it's, one thing that's about that one, it doesn't have a float on it. So it chews up everything. Where this one will have that float mount on it. So you go, it's gonna go with the road instead of taking the road with it.
yeah.
That's the big thing. You're not tearing up manholes, you're not tearing up valve covers.
What do we have for a plow now?
I don't even know what year, I think it's like a 92, it's literally like one-wheel drive truck. I don't even know how many miles or hours are on it.
We have the one that carries the
It's the spreader, yeah,
The spreader.
yeah, that's the one I'm talking about, and it's got the plow on it, and that plow is, didn't they have to like, make that plow fit that truck somehow?
Yeah, it's fabricated.
Yeah.
It's probably welded
So, I
on.
mean, it didn't even go for that, it was none of that was.
Other than the plow, what other attachments are on this one versus the other one?
So just
Just the
honestly,
plow?
every yeah, I mean, I don't know what else he had, if he has the spreader for it or not, I don't know that part.
I don't think 100,000 bothers me on a diesel. I don't think that's an issue for me. I think that considering the costs with what's on the truck, and we should look into seeing what else is on the truck, of course. But like I said, them CDOT trucks are maintained, they have all the bells and whistles usually.
How long has it been since the CDOT owned it?
Not
why I
too
say-
long, considering it's still that bright orange.
It's got a new owner now, so there's been other issues.
Well, and that's,
They're both same year, but you're talking 5 times the mileage on one versus the other.
I mean, ultimately, you guys are gonna have to be using it, so it's kinda gonna fall on you, cause if it ends up like it doesn't work a year from now, we can't replace them every year.
I don't know, to
So,
me, it just makes sense getting something that already has everything on it.
I'm
You know
kind
what I
of.
mean, I'm not saying
with
just
you,
cause it's here
'cause-
local or whatever, you know, I mean, it's just, everything's there, except for the plow.
Yeah, I'm inclined to.
Well,
take
that's
your
what I'm saying, you know, you're saying everything but the plow, what does the other truck have?
Which other truck?
The other 99, the one rancher supply out of Lamar.
It's just the truck.
It's just a truck, it doesn't have anything.
So what are all the other bells and whistles on this truck, other than
With
the
the
plow?
plow, with all the electronics, everything that's
Other
on
than
it
the plow,
already.
what are the other bells and whistles?
No, that's what I'm talking
So
about.
that's the only thing
Yeah,
there
I
is?
mean, it's got everything there ready for the plow to be mounted and go.
Yeah, the orange one does, all the lights are there,
The lights from the top, right?
it's got all the extra
Cover
accessory
to the
lights, it
bed.
looks like.
Yep, no, there's a cover on
It's got a
it.
pretty,
But the other truck from ranchers, I mean, it doesn't have a plow, it doesn't have the attachments, but basically, it does have a PTO, it does have hydraulics.
We're talking about this one a lot on the plow side, and I think when it's presented as a dump truck, so are we
But
using that
it'll be used, I mean,
primarily outside of snow response season?
I mean, I'd rather have 2 plow trucks than one. That's where I'm kinda like pushing towards, you know, plow is, I mean, I know, you know, we don't get a snowstorm like we did, like, you know, every time, but we're gonna be able to cover how much more ground, how much faster.
it's one of those rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it
Well, but
situation.
even when we get smaller amounts of snow, citizens always ask where our plow truck is and why we're not doing it and stuff, so.
The blade's just a little bit bigger than this, you know, cable, it's not meant to sit here and just keep plowing streets. That blade is meant for just, you know, parking lots, it's not meant for.
So I'm looking at if we're talking about $30,000 difference on adding this plow attachment, another 9 months outside of snow response, and this one, the dump truck is gonna be used primarily, for the most part for a dump truck. And then, it does have some applicable use as a plow in the snow season. But when we're kind of looking, as far as that being a factor, of having to spend 30,000+ to add a plow onto this dump truck, that could be maybe another truck with a plow attachment that has more utility.
And then we have 3. And we have the ability to do more.
So right now on our storm response list, we have the international dump truck, so that one's out for commission. 92 international dump truck with manually delivered adjustable plow and sand spreader.
Yep.
We don't have that?
No, we have it.
It's currently, right now,
But-
it's a little bit broke down,
Was that one used in our last snow?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
dumping transmissions,
That's
so
what you
all the
can
That's
have.
what I'm
transmissions
saying,
were out every hour.
that's where you get, it's one wheel drive, and I mean, constantly, it's.
A lot of trucks couldn't handle it,
Yeah.
other than that one, because of the weight.
I saw my first one.
This, a lot of people struggle with this, unless you had power, this was not a nice one to any time.
Is this an action item right now?
It's on the agenda later
Not
on.
right at this moment.
Okay.
Basically, guys,
That's about it, right?
I'm looking at this as for the citizens, not really just us, it's basically to make it better. And that's all, we're all trying to do, is just make it better, and
So just point blank, what are your recommendations?
honestly, I mean, the old CDOT truck, I really do, I mean, it's got everything there.
And on the loader?
The loader, I've got, you know, I mean, those are my two, it's just, I'd rather
Cheap as hell.
well, I'm not just going cheap too, I'm looking to keep that money here in this town too.
Yeah.
It comes
Well,
back,
this
the
allows
thing
us
is
to
that,
invest in other items as well.
Would you say Justin wanted for that, 25?
and then
So
I'm
it's
guessing,
10 cheaper than that Freightliner.
and I'm
it's
guessing
got the
maybe-
attachment.
I mean, I don't know what to say for moves, you know, because that's where I was told the plow's at. For this
It's
truck,
gonna hit $1 million.
let's just say another 10 grand for the plow, and just, I'm guessing,
Yeah, you're gonna match right up in there.
I mean, you're gonna be about the same price as what.
I'll ask, are there any other questions Cody can help with?
You can buy the loader, can I go for a ride? No.
It'd be, I mean, you
Not
can
ready
answer
for
it,
that.
but for me, it'd be, you know, how much will it cost to fit a plow on one that's not current?
Is that what you
Upwards
just,
to about $50,000.
is that what you just talked about?
Yeah, because
That's what I was gonna say,
Depending on
anywhere from 30 to 40 is what I was
especially with the
guessing.
electronics.
50 for the one that has nothing?
Yes.
What was it, Kuko said it would cost 50,000 to put a plow on?
Upwards to 50,000, depending on which
Okay.
system we go with.
For the electronics and all.
And how much would just the plow be to
just the
divide the
electronics.
attached to
We
this?
can ask Luke, we can call him tomorrow, and we can find that out
I
quick.
can't remember what that was.
And I bet you Muth has a bunch of stuff that would fit on it.
Back to it yet, but as soon as we do, maybe, something they might toss down.
Did you contact CDOT?
No.
No?
I
No,
talked to
I
them
talked to
yesterday
them.
about it, when they were cleaning up the concrete. I talked to them yesterday about plows and stuff like that, and they told us that we'd have to go to an auction. I said at an auction, but as a municipality, we get first bids and first right, so if we wanna buy it outright, we could buy it outright at the lowest price without bidding.
That's exactly what the guy that does the regional here that I know, I talked to him and he said the same thing, we gotta go on the auction.
Yeah, CDOT,
CDOT,
yeah. That's, I mean,
CDOT.
right, CDOT.
Yeah, so, yeah, it'll be probably a little while before you see CDOT stuff, cause they just had their auction, so.
My final question is, what's gonna happen, what would happen with the old loader and the old dump truck?
I don't know about the loader, but, I mean, it's,
Our intent is to sell them.
no.
Yeah, it's not just, we don't
You
need
may get
another,
pretty decent for scrap.
we don't need another piece of equipment that somebody's
Exactly.
thinking that they're gonna repair someday.
Yeah, we need to sell off what we're not using, we definitely
Oh,
don't be holding on to
absolutely, we
everything.
have way too many things that we're holding on to.
And I'm saying that for you guys.
Cause I think honestly, I think we were talking about doing that, the old trash truck and everything all at once, wasn't it? Something like that.
I never discussed
Oh,
the trash
I
truck.
didn't know if you talked to.
Stacy and I were,
Well, we're talking the old trash truck that's sitting down at the yard,
Any other
the side loader or whatever, side dump.
No, the dump truck you presently have, you say you can fix it up and use it for other things now.
Yeah,
Small stuff.
We're
I
not
mean, I
gonna,
don't know
we're
what
not gonna be
it's
spending a
gonna
lot of money to fix it up, I mean, spending more than what it's worth.
I don't know. You
I
wouldn't
think
know
spending
until
anything
somebody
on
looks
what
at it,
it's worth
'cause
at this point.
who knows what's wrong with that transmission? I mean, it could have just been a seal that popped. You never know. Housing could have cracked. I mean,
Better off selling it then.
I couldn't give you that answer without, seeing numbers.
Is it even worth
Exactly,
it?
that's why I'm
Yeah.
seeing numbers.
Yeah,
Well, and that's
without
the
seeing
problem.
numbers to see what it would cost to fix it, I don't,
Every 2 hours.
there's not very many miles on that truck. Shoot.
Any other questions
Many
that
hours
we
even.
can help with? Alright, Cody, you're good, thank you.
Thank you, Cordy, appreciate it very much. You're welcome.
Okay, so we will move on to the, item number 12 is our public hearing on the budget. So the notice of public hearing was posted. We have public hearing set for tonight, November 26th, 7 p.m. So kind of what we'll do is open the floor if anyone, kind of start out here if anyone would like to enter public comment on the proposed 2025 budget.
Or make donation.
Alright, well, kind of start around this way. Start with Larry, if you have any comments.
It'll say if
Be
it's
back
the general
there.
fund,
I think the budget looks good right now.
the budget's for all the funds. So,
I know Robert had a few questions already.
Yeah. The questions
The
the
same
money,
ones.
the money we're spending on leasing
Copiers.
copiers, money there, does that money, do we actually have to better off buying? The overtime was another one.
I guess I'll get up here and answer those as best as I can.
I know on the copiers, it comes up every year, it's come up every year that we've done a budget, the copiers come up and we've always had the same answer, right? Cause they're leased, everybody always concerned because they're leased and we have too many.
Well, and right now we're under contract on it till the end of this year. I think we're back up in 2025. if it's not in 2025, it's coming up. It's soon enough, but once you're in that lease, you're in it.
And I know last time we proposed, when we didn't propose, but we talked about having just a copier here in the city building, but then the people from the library would have to come over here and make copies, and then the people from Public Works and everybody else would have to come here to make copies, so we said it was
We wouldn't necessarily need to just have one copier. This one's under a lease, so we're leasing the equipment plus the service. And I don't know if they're
The maintenance
providing us
contract.
with toner and all of that. We
Yeah.
should. So it's, kind of a all-in-one service for printing. I think kind of with you there, this is one that sticks out to me every time. I really don't think, one, I don't think that we're using it as to the capacity of what our lease is set on. And then two, if we are, I think that's something that could be looked at as far as, changing reducing the use of paper in the daily processes. But we are getting to the end. We are in contract. That contract could be bought out. And have we looked at? I know I had asked about getting like our print quantities and assessing if we were basically using what we're paying for.
Yeah, well, they charge us by the copy on this thing, plus in the maintenance contract. So color copies, I think, cost us 25 cents. The black and whites are like a penny or two. They're pretty cheap. But as far as an analysis of the cost analysis, I haven't done it, just to be honest with you.
So our lease is set up as a per print lease, or do we receive an X amount of black and white and color copies and then pay a per after we hit that? Because that's mostly the vendors that
I was going to say
see.
that sounds like a more standard
That's
contract.
kind of how it works.
It
And that's
probably
what I'm
is.
saying. I don't think that we're hitting those, and
if
we are, then that's also another thing to look at.
Another discussion, yeah. But again, I mean, until we fulfill the contract, we're in it, and that's one reason I haven't given it a lot of thought, because there's really not much I can do with it without picking the contract.
So we probably should just pull up that lease and take a look at it and figure out what we're
Well,
doing.
it's not that simple, because it's a folder full of all different leases for each machine and stuff under all the same contract. It's very convoluted. I've looked at it and I'm just like, I can't make it to this, and it's involved.
But if we were just to purchase a couple, 3, whatever copiers, be enough to cover the whole city departments. Once you purchase them, all you're buying is ink, your toner and your paper.
Well,
there's no fees
well,
other than maintenance.
Yeah,
service.
until they break.
Yeah.
And then,
It's 10,000 a month though, we can replace them.
well,
Every 2
especially
months.
in some of those departments have kind of gone that way already. I know the fire department has a few of their own printers, and they don't really want to be part of it, but, printers, you can get one at Walmart,
They're disposable.
right, and if we roll them over, I think we should look at all that, but I think we need to fulfill our contract.
It's like contracts ending.
We'll have to find out when it is. We can get a hold of Barrett to find out exactly when that lease is up, because they bought out our previous contract with Gobin's. I think it was like $4,800, so there's gonna be a hefty penalty if we try to get out of it after they shelled up that kind of money to get our business.
When does this lease expire?
Don't know. Again, that's the one thing that we need to find out when this is over. And we're gonna talk to Barrett, we'll get with Barrett on that and find out who's our representative.
As much as possible.
Yeah, we don't want it to end, but of course, once it's ended, they'll probably do like a month to month like anything else, but once it's ended, we'll take a good hard look at it at that time.
The other question he had was overtime. Where do we see the overtime being used?
I'm glad you brought that up, because the last time that we spoke, I told you guys that I would go in and I would take a hard look at that, and I have. Our overtime bucket, things that all go under that bucket that make up what's in that line item for overtime, when in actuality it's about 4 or 5 things. Police call out, if someone's at home and gets called out, time and a half. If someone for the ambulance gets called out, it's time and a half. Same with the fire department, you know, those things, we're never budgeted, you know. So every holiday, you know, there's gotta be someone in the district, you know, someone's gotta be at the fire department, someone's gotta be at the police department, but they were never budgeted. And that's why, but fire, they have to have people there that get paid out, no matter what they get. Dispatch, same thing, time and a half, no matter what.
Because your paid holidays are just a regular.
It's a day off for me,
Yeah,
yeah,
but you get paid.
and I get paid for it.
Yeah.
But these people actually
Regular
have,
time,
and,
it's
and,
not extra.
and it's 24 hours of that day, it's, you know, 2 shifts at dispatch, 2 separate shifts of 2. And all those other, it's EMS, and if you notice, that was where all that was. When I brought it up, I said, the fire department and the ambulance and all these things, I can't make heads or tails of it, it doesn't make sense, you know? They've got more overtime than they've got regular pay. Well, now it makes sense.
So can you figure, or have you seen, or when you dig down deeper, how much actually
Has that changed anything at all? No overtime at all, you know, the overtime and the regular time and all that stuff?
No, it didn't affect it.
Cause I don't think we've had a report since
Well,
we
can you
changed it,
tell?
right?
I mean, you said, because you can't tell otherwise on what we're.
Well, the other one would be
Well,
closed.
I think you're probably talking more about productivity and, you know, the quality of work that we're getting out of our people as compared to the actual.
So we
overtime.
haven't had to use no overtime on Thursday and then again on Monday, nothing?
No. It's, again, anything in my department,
Making it.
you know, the Wildwood Fire Department makes about $1.75 for every dollar that it's.
Yeah, they're making more than spending.
Yeah.
So most of their overtime should be just,
Well, it goes under deployment.